In a time long ago, before the rise of cities and the echoes of nations, the world was a place of untamed wilderness and ancient whispers. Humanity had grown numerous, filling the earth with their lives, their stories, and, tragically, their sins. The beauty of creation had become overshadowed by the darkness in human hearts. Before we proceed, please support us by liking the video, subscribing to our channel, and hitting the notification bell. Your kind gesture will give us the motivation and encouragement we need to continue creating content. Thank you. Now, let's dive back into exploring the story of Noah's Ark. Wickedness spread like a plague, corrupting all it touched. The world was lost, adrift on a sea of moral chaos. And as God looked down upon his creation, his heart ached. The world he had fashioned with his own hands, the world he had breathed life into, had turned away from him. The earth was filled with violence, with every thought and intention of mankind steeped in evil. It seemed that creation was unraveling, but amid the chaos and the corruption, there was one man whose life was different, one man whose heart remained true. His name was Noah. In a world where every thought was bent toward wickedness, Noah stood apart, a flickering flame in the darkness, righteous and blameless in his generation. He walked with God, his life a testament to faith and obedience. And because of this, God chose Noah to be the instrument of his justice and mercy. One day, as Noah went about his work, he heard a voice, deep, resonant, and filled with a gravity that made the earth itself seem to tremble. It was the voice of God. "Noah," the voice called, "the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth." The words were like thunder, shaking Noah to his core. Destroy the earth. The thought was unimaginable, yet Noah knew that the voice he heard was not one to be questioned. God's heart had been grieved by humanity's descent into sin, and now he had resolved to cleanse the earth of its wickedness. But there was hope. God, in his infinite mercy, had a plan, not just of destruction, but of salvation. "Make yourself an ark of gopher wood," God commanded. "Make rooms in the ark and cover it inside and outside with a pitch." An ark, a vessel to float upon the waters. Noah could scarcely believe what he was hearing, but God's instructions were clear, precise, leaving no room for doubt. The ark was to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high, a massive structure, a floating fortress capable of withstanding the greatest storm the world would ever see. And so Noah set to work. Day after day, he labored under the scorching sun, his sons by his side, building the ark according to God's specifications. Each hammer strike, each cut of wood was an act of faith, a declaration of trust in the God who had spoken to him. The people around him watched in bewilderment. What was this old man doing, building a boat on dry land, far from any sea or river? They mocked him, ridiculed him, called him a fool. But Noah was undeterred. He knew that God's ways were higher than man's, that his wisdom far surpassed human understanding. For years, Noah worked tirelessly, his faith never wavering. And then, as the ark neared completion, God gave him another command. "Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate, and also 7 pairs of every kind of bird, male and female, to keep their various kinds alive throughout the earth. The task was enormous, almost beyond comprehension. How would Noah gather all these creatures? But God's providence was at work. As if drawn by an unseen hand, the animals came, 2 by 2. They came, lions and lambs, eagles and sparrows, beasts of the field, and creatures of the forest. They came from the east and west, from the north and south, marching, flying, crawling towards the great ark. It was as if all creation knew what was coming, sensing the storm that loomed on the horizon. Noah, his family, and the animals entered the ark, and the door was shut behind them, sealed by God himself. Then the rain began to fall. At first, it was just a few drops, a gentle patter on the ground, but then it grew stronger, heavier, until the heavens opened and unleashed a torrent of water. The fountains of the deep burst forth. The windows of heaven were opened, and the rain poured down in sheets, a deluge that quickly swallowed up the earth. Rivers overflowed their banks, valleys filled with water, mountains disappeared beneath the rising flood. The ark began to float, lifted by the rising waters, tossed by the winds and waves, but never capsizing, for it was held by the unseen hand of God. Inside the ark, Noah and his family could hear the roar of the storm, the crash of the waves, the cries of those outside who had not heeded Noah's warning. Their hearts were heavy with sorrow, but they trusted in God's promise. For 40 days and 40 nights, the rain fell without ceasing. The world as they knew it was washed away, wiped clean by the mighty flood. But inside the ark, there was safety. Inside the ark, there was life. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the rain stopped. The wind blew over the earth and the waters began to recede. Day by day, the ark drifted on the slowly shrinking sea, until at last it came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Noah waited patiently, sending out a raven to see if the earth was dry, but it found no place to rest. Then he sent out a dove, but it too returned, finding no place to set its feet. He waited another 7 days and sent out the dove again, and this time it returned with a freshly plucked olive leaf in its beak. The sight of that little leaf brought tears to Noah's eyes, for it was a sign that the waters had receded, that life was returning to the earth. Finally, after a full year inside the ark, God spoke to Noah again. "Come out of the ark," he said, "you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number upon it." With hearts full of gratitude and awe, Noah and his family stepped out onto dry land. The world before them was a new world, cleansed by the waters, a world waiting to be filled with life once more. Noah's first act upon leaving the ark was to build an altar to the Lord. He took some of the clean animals and offered them as burnt offerings, a sacrifice of thanksgiving for their deliverance. And the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of man, even though every inclination of his heart is evil from childhood. And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done." Then God made a covenant with Noah and his descendants, a promise sealed with a sign, the sign of a rainbow stretched across the sky. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, God said, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. And so, the rainbow became a symbol of hope, a reminder of God's mercy and faithfulness. It was a sign that even in judgment, there is grace. Even in wrath, there is love. For Noah, it was a reminder of the God who saves, the God who is faithful to his promises. And as he stood there, looking up at the brilliant colors arching across the sky, he knew that this was not just the end of a story, but the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter filled with hope, with promise, with the possibility of a redeemed world. Noah's story is a story of faith and obedience, of a man who trusted God even when the world around him scoffed. It is a story of judgment and mercy, of destruction and salvation. But more than that, it is a story of a God who is sovereign over all creation, who holds the world in his hands, who sees the depths of human sin and yet offers a way of escape, a way of redemption. It is a story that speaks to us today, reminding us that no matter how dark the world may seem, there is always hope in God. There is always a rainbow after the storm. Thank you for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I request you to support us by liking the video, subscribing to our channel, and hitting the bell icon. This generous act of yours will give us encouragement and power. May God bless you.